Hello and welcome to the Jewish Curiosity Podcast, where we ask questions and take journeys. We have been on a journey for a few weeks now to search for God in this world, to try and find spirituality here in the physical realm. And in this episode, our conclusion of the series, we are going to talk about Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. And we may find that they have much less to do with what is going on in the synagogue and much more to do with finding the extraordinary here in our very ordinary everyday lives. I hope you enjoy. Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are probably the most misunderstood days in the Jewish year. Most people associate them with judgment and guilt for the past, but if we look a bit closer, we may discover something quite different. These days might be less about guilt for the past, but far more about closeness in the present and hope for the future. There are three life-changing things that I learned about Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and for that matter, the whole 10-day period which I wanted to share with you today. The first idea is about creation. The Maral says that each year is really a new world. As the sun sets on the eve of Rosh Hashanah, one world ends and a new one begins. But this world isn't fully created right away. On Rosh Hashanah, we enter a 10-day programming phase. The script of the year to come is being written, and we are on the writing team. Who will we be this year? What will the world look like this year? During these 10 days, with everything we do, we give answers to these questions. And then as the stars come out at the end of Yom Kippur, we press play and our new world begins. So this is the first idea, that these days are time outside of time, where we participate in the creation of a new world. The second idea is about relationships. In these 10 days, God is becoming the king of the world. And this God-world relationship actually develops in stages. The process begins on Rosh Hashanah when God activates his sovereignty over the world through an act of sovereignty, namely judgment. He looks at everyone and everything on earth, thinks about their good and not so good contributions to the world, and decides accordingly what consequences to give them so that they can live their best lives in the year ahead. A king calls the shots, and that is exactly what God does on Rosh Hashanah. Now, what was kickstarted on Rosh Hashanah continues to develop over the 10-day period until on Yom Kippur the process is completed and God becomes not just a king but the king. That is, we live our lives throughout the year. We actually have two kings. When we do good, we listen to the voice of God inside us and thereby make him a king. But when we do bad, we listen to the Yetzer Hara, the voice of evil. See, actions are not just about morals and ethics, they're about relationships. And when we listen to the Yetzer Hara, we develop a relationship with it. We make it our king. But on Yom Kippur, God steps in. He doesn't just want a relationship with us, he wants an exclusive relationship with us. This is the deeper idea of forgiveness on Yom Kippur. God wipes out our relationship with the Yetzer Hara, not just because we are some kind of charity case, but because he wants us. So this is the second idea, that the development from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur is one of relationship exclusivity. God loves us and he wants to be ours and us to be his exclusively. And the third idea is about closeness. The Vilna Gaon explains that there are two types of rulers, a melech, a king, and a moshel, a dictator. They both call the shots, but whilst the dictator does so regardless of the will of the people, a king, a true king, does so with the will of the people. A dictator is distant, but a king is meant to be close. A dictator calls the shots in spite of the people. A king is meant to call the shots together with the people. Making God king isn't really about enabling God to call the shots. He can do that just fine without us. It's about his presence here when he does so. So do we want to be a God from a distance, or do we want him to be with us as we carry out his will together with him? And this is the third idea, that Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and the whole 10 days are a time to tell God that we don't just want his rulership, we also want his presence. So these are the ideas that changed my life. Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and this special 10-day period are days of creation where we help shape a new world, days of relationship where God becomes our one and only king, and days of closeness where we invite God in. We tell him that we don't just want him to rule from afar, but we want him with us here every step of the way. I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Jewish Curiosity Podcast.
If you want to find out more or check out more episodes, you can go to www.jewishcuriosity.com, or you can also find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Have an amazing day, and hope to see you next time.